What's up, self-healers? Lisa Lightfeather here. Welcome to my channel, Closing the Gap, where we make a conscious effort to meet you where you're at on your spiritual journey. Before I forget, if you enjoy this video, please give me a like or subscribe or drop a little heart down at the bottom of in the comments or any comment. This helps me to get into the algorithm of YouTube. Yeah. So today we'll be talking about the topic of soul loss and soul retrieval. This can be quite a heavy topic, yeah? So I just want to kind of give a caveat in advance that this could be a heavy topic. It could be very triggering. But as self-healers, a lot of the topics that we will go over will be heavy, yes? Because in order to self-heal, it requires going back into our past, things that have happened to us, and bringing that up and then healing it, yeah? And this can be a heavy, heavy process. This is the reason that not everyone is a self-healer. Not everyone's a self-healer because it requires dedication, hard work, and it certainly requires courage. So today, in the topic of soul loss, and how to recover the pieces of ourselves, we'll be going over some things that may cause trauma. Everyone's trauma is valid. One does not have to go through an extreme, horrific event to be considered trauma. Yes? Trauma can be that you've had everything your whole life. Your whole life has been set up for you from the outside looking in. It's perfect. You've been provided for. You've been in the safe space. It was everything there except love. That is a form of trauma. So never belittle your journey or think that you haven't been through enough trauma, because you can't compare your trauma to anyone else's trauma. Trauma is trauma to the soul. So let's get that out of the way. I will be speaking about some heavy topics today that I have witnessed of others and that I have went through myself and that I just know for a fact to be trauma across the board. Okay? So brace yourselves, get ready. We're going to learn today how to call back our souls, how to call back every piece of us, because we are the rightful owner. So in the process of trauma, there's something that's called soul loss, where the soul itself cannot stay in the physical body because what's occurring is too traumatic for that soul. In the book Walking the Tiger by Peter A. Levine, he speaks about trauma. I recommend that you get that book, and I will drop a link down where to get that book in the book that I'm referencing to in the description of the video. There are different types of energy loss or soul loss, right? There's 3 different types. Energy loss is when we have an energetic exchange with people on a daily basis. It may be our family. We may be willingly holding space for them. It may be our job, where we are giving all of our energy to our job to stay on top of things. There may not be a lot of reciprocity, right? Energy loss can be when a child grows up and the child is ready to leave the home and the parents are still holding on to parts of their energy in the hopes that they come back. Yeah, that can be energy loss as well. Energy loss can be at the time of someone's passing. We don't want them to pass, so we give them our energy in the hopes that they will stay longer. That can be energy loss. Power loss looks like, again, at your job, where you might have a dominant boss, someone who's not who can be a bully or controlling. It can be a loss in a relationship where one partner is more dominant than the other and they control that partner. Power loss can be like going to the dentist and you're there with your mouth open and all these tools are in there and it may hurt, but there's nothing you can do about it because you're at the dentist, yeah? And so it's a form of power loss. But soul loss is on the deepest of deepest levels. Soul loss can occur when the child is still in the womb of the mother. If the mother is in a situation where she's in a domestic violence relationship, or the father isn't in the picture, and she's having to work her entire pregnancy, she's having to, she's struggling, she's afraid all the time, she's afraid she's not going to be able to make it or survive on her own. These things cause anxiety and they cause fear. Or if the mother is addicted to some type of substance while she is pregnant with the child, the mother is smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol, or doing something else. And it's a form of trauma to the mother and to the child. Yes? The mother doesn't have nutrition, the right foods to eat. And so the baby is receiving everything the mother is feeling. The mother's fear, the mother's anxiety, the mother's anger, the mother's frustration. The baby is feeling all of that. Now, before you go on feeling guilty about anything that we may have done during our time of pregnancy, always remember that our children choose us. And they know exactly what they're going to go through at the time of choosing us. It's a different topic, but we choose our parents in order to experience what we need to experience in this lifetime. So this isn't a session to where you are to feel guilty or ashamed or anything like that. Okay? So trauma can be experienced while still in the womb. The more you know, yes? Trauma can be experienced at the time of birth. Through vaginal birth, it is a natural trauma. The baby is coming from a place that is warm and safe and comfortable, into this bright lights, into this, being squeezed through the birth canal and being handled by people that they'll never meet again. Yeah? This is one of the reasons that we as a people are going back to the ways that our grandmothers and our great-grandmothers gave birth, So why doulas are so important in this day and time. So if you've heard the call to be a doula, it is a call indeed. Go for it. Go forward with it. Yes? So that our children can be birthed in a safe place and receive less trauma. Before you become a doula, you must do your work. You must self-heal, because catching the heads of ancestors is a huge responsibility and one that should be taken seriously. Yeah. So self-healing is important. Trauma can happen during the loss of a family member, someone that transitions away. There could be soul loss for the person because they love the person so much. Soul loss can occur during a natural disaster, such as a tornado or hurricane. Soul loss can occur during a disaster like a house burning down or a vehicle accident. Soul loss can occur when someone is being taken advantage of, like being raped or child molestation. It can occur during a domestic violence relationship where one is controlling the other person and the other person can't get away. Soul loss can also occur vicariously by witnessing the trauma of someone else. So witnessing a car wreck or someone being shot, or as a child you witnessed your mother or your father being abused in domestic violence. As a child you witnessed something happening to someone else, or as a teenager, you're out at a party and something happens to someone else, but you had nothing to do with it, but you witnessed it, you were there, you saw the trauma that occurred. It can be a form of soul loss. So what do we do? How do you know if you've been in a traumatic event where your soul may have left your body, parts of your soul may have left your body? There's something called fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Yeah? These are all trauma responses. So in fight or flight, we are either in a position to where we are running away from something, We're trying to get away from it, or we're fighting for our lives, or we're fighting for our safety. And freeze, this is when someone is so overwhelmed with what's occurring to them that they just freeze. For example, in the case of someone being raped, people who don't understand the concept of trauma and how one reacts to trauma might say, why didn't you fight back? Why didn't you say no? Why didn't you run? Well, sometimes the trauma can be so overwhelming that one freezes and they do absolutely nothing as the trauma is occurring. Fawning is something that someone does, which is also a trauma response. When they're very people-pleasing, they want to keep people happy, and they'll do anything to keep people happy. Some people might look at that as, oh, she's a suck-up, or he's a suck-up, or he's a butt kisser, he's this or that. He's always running up behind people, trying to make people like him or her. Well, the reason this happens is because in fawning, the person feels safe. They may have come from a traumatic event where that if they weren't perfect, if they weren't nice, if they didn't treat their abuser nicely, then of course they would be abused. So fawning is a trauma response. Yeah. So another way that trauma can happen and the soul may leave the body, this is something that people may not think of, but it's through surgery. Through some type of surgery where you have to go under anesthesia. That could be dental surgery. It could be physical body surgery. A woman having a cesarean section, a C-section during birth, cosmetic surgery, surgeries that we volunteer for, or surgeries that we understand we have to go under this surgery as a medical procedure. We may understand that mentally, but the body itself perceives it as a traumatic event, as a life-threatening event. So parts of the body can leave during surgery. Yeah. So how do we call the parts of ourselves back? How do we do that? Yeah. All right, self-healers. Let's go over some techniques. So in the book Walking the Tiger by Peter A. Levine, he speaks about one technique where you work with water. Yeah? You work with water. And we'll go over that. The most common form of calling your soul back is working with a shaman, a medicine man, or a medicine woman. Now, then during shamanic healing, one may use a drum, a consistent beating of a drum, to go into a trance, a spiritual trance. Or they may use a rattle. They go into a spiritual trance, or they may use plant medicine, or a combination of all. Yeah? They go into a spiritual trance, and they walk through the person's life on a spiritual realm. And they go and they bring back the pieces of the person's soul. And they return that to the rightful owner. That's one way of retrieving the soul, all the pieces of it back. This may be done on several times, or it could happen in one setting. However, it requires someone outside of yourself to assist you with the work. And there is nothing wrong with that. I recommend that even if you do sit with what's referred to as a shaman or a medicine man or a medicine woman in the calling back of your soul, I recommend that you also have a therapist, someone that you can speak to that understands the concept of soul loss. Yeah. And I think that any therapist does understand the concept of soul loss. They just may refer to it as something different. PTSD. So, sitting with the shaman is one thing. Working with plant medicine is another thing. But I want to give you tools on how you can do it yourself, right? So going back to the topic of working on water, working with water. Water is very healing. Yeah, it's very healing. And so when you're in the shower, what Peter A. Levine recommends is that you put the shower head on pretty hard and you let it hit different parts of your body. And you say to yourself, this is my shoulder. What it's doing is it's bringing back the soul-body connection. Because a lot of times when we go through trauma, we leave the physical body. The physical body is just on autopilot. So we want to bring the soul back to the body. So this is my shoulder. This is my chest. This is my right shoulder. This is my arm. This is my forearm. These are my hands. Allowing the water to tap on that part of your body for a period of time. You want to do that all over your body. This is my forehead. This is the top of my head. These are my thighs, right? Allowing the water to hit, and you're going through this meditative process where in your mind's eye, you're calling back your soul. You're reminding it where home is. It's kind of like giving your soul a GPS. Yeah? Come back to me. I am the rightful owner. I deserve to have every part of me with me. Come back to me. And you call back your soul. Yeah? You make it a daily practice. Now, this can be overwhelming. So you may do one a day. You may do it once a week. You may do it once a month. You want to journal the traumatic events in your life that you remember. And you want to take a topic from your journal. And when you get in the shower, you want to talk about everything that my mother went through when she was pregnant with me. I call it back to me. You're welcome to come back home. And you're reminding your soul where home is in this physical body, in this physical realm. Yeah? You're letting it know that everything is safe now, that you're doing the work, that it can come back home. Yeah? Another method is a method that I've done myself, that I was called back to my childhood home. Now, if you've had a lot of trauma and you said to yourself, I'm never going back there again, there's nothing there for me, but something keeps calling you back to your childhood home, it's your soul. It's your soul that's beckoning. Come get me. Yes? So I had to go back to my childhood home. And of course, any trauma that I experienced had happened there, or the majority of the trauma that I had experienced happened in that area. A friend of mine by the name of Kwame Sunhorse, he is a medicine man and a healer himself. I told him that I was being triggered every time I would pass by a space. You'll see something and it'll trigger a thought. Well, when I was 13, this happened. Or when I was 20, that happened. And it was very hard to be back there, but I had to be back there for certain family reasons. So there was no way out of it. I had to be there. You have to recognize when spirit is working with you and when something is happening out of your control, but it's happening for a reason. So he recommended that I go back to each space, that I carry sage with me in my vehicle, or that I carry a rattle or a drum with me in my vehicle, whatever the case was. And that when I was triggered by a space, that if I had the time to get out, go to that space where the incident occurred, give thanks for the fact that I even survived it, right? Burn sage, offer forgiveness. Yes? Forgiveness isn't about the person who did the trauma to you. Forgiveness is for you. Yes, it's for you. So you want to offer forgiveness. And you want to call back that piece of your soul, that fragmented piece that left your body at the time of that particular event. Now, you don't necessarily have to go there in the physical. But if you're called back to your childhood home and you thought, God, I would never go back there again, and you're back there for some reason, it's not because what you think it is. It's because your soul is beckoning you. It's ready to come home. You've provided a safe space that it can come home to. Okay? So I ended up going back to my childhood home. The childhood home was not there anymore. Every house was on the block except my childhood home. And I called back my energy. I called her back home. I let her know that it was now safe for her to come home. Yeah? And so you want to go back to these places. Now, you don't necessarily have to go back to these places in the physical. But if you're called back into your childhood space, then you should go back there and do it in the physical. Yeah? But you can do this from anywhere. It's your own form of shamanic journeying. Like I said, write a list, journal the traumatic events that are happened in your life, even ones that you did not perceive as traumatic, like surgery or coming through the birth canal. Things like seeing your childhood pet hit by a car or abused when you were a child can be trauma. And so there's things that we just don't consider trauma. We just consider it something that just happened. But if you love your dog or your cat and you see it get hit by a car, that's trauma. Parts of your little soul leave. Yeah? And so we leave parts of ourselves everywhere. We're just fragmented spiritually. Sometimes this can lead to, a fragmented soul can lead to things such as, and this is more on the therapeutic side. For those of you who don't know, I do have a master's degree in social work, so I have some type of knowledge about the therapeutic side. It can lead to things which they refer to in the DSM-5 as personality disorder or bipolar disorder or whatever they always have a name for it on the therapeutic side. And these things should be taken into consideration as well, very much so. So in the spiritual side, leaving fragmented pieces of ourselves everywhere, leaving our energy everywhere, we should call it back. Yeah? So you can do this in your mind's eye by going back to the places. And you want to be in a stable place. You need some support. You may even do this in the presence of your therapist. But you want to, if you're not strong enough, know yourself. This is heavy work. And if you are not strong enough to do this work, to travel back to those places where traumatic events happened, it can be bad. So you want to take it in small bites. It's kind of like eating an elephant. How do you eat an elephant? The only way you can eat an elephant is one bite at a time. It's the same way with your trauma. One thing at a time. Take your time. Have someone assist you on your journey with it. Yeah? Another thing that I want to bring up is don't allow people to tell you, oh, that didn't happen. Like you have a family member or a sister or a brother. And, well, I don't remember it like that, because we all remember our trauma how we remember it. Okay? So it's true to the person who's remembering it. Honor that. Honor that. You remember the parts of the traumatic event that your body could handle at the time. Okay? And journeying back and remembering the traumatic events, it can be very triggering. So you want to make sure you're in a safe space, right? When you do this practice. Light your candles. Do it in the bathtub. Do it with meditation, with guided meditation on. Burn some sage. Light an incense. Make your space safe. Make sure you're in a safe space. And you travel back to maybe one or two events. Don't try to do the whole list. You travel back and you remember the event. And you tell her or him, I'm sorry this happened to you. I forgive myself and I forgive the people who have done it. But I'm doing the work now. And it's safe for you to come home. And you call back the fragmented pieces. Let the emotions flow. Whether it's tears, whether it's anger. You may feel a little down or you may feel uplifted, because every time you call back pieces of you, you get stronger and stronger and stronger and healthier and healthier and healthier. Call it back. Now that's if you have the privilege of being in a safe space and creating this sacred space to do this practice. And that I really wish for every single one of you, to create a sacred space. If you're out in nature, you know what, even if you are homeless, find a tree, sit with your back to the tree. Do this practice. Call back your energy. Call it back to its rightful owner. Your soul desires to be home, and you deserve to be whole. Yeah? So take this practice one day at a time. Take it easy. If you can, please have some support with you. If you have someone who understands, have some support with you. Maybe even your therapist. If not, know that your ancestors, your spirit guides, your plant allies, your animal allies are with you. Yeah? And that you have what it takes to continue to self-heal. You have everything you need. Everything you need, you're already equipped with. This is what self-healing is. It's not easy. If it was, everyone would do it. Yeah? But it's important that you heal yourself in this lifetime. Because first of all, you're worthy. And second of all, you have work to do. Yeah? So let's do the work. I will put down in the comments some resources that you can reach out to. You can always drop a comment down below. I'm always willing to assist you and hold space for you. Remember that wherever you go, whatever you do, in holding space for others and in holding space for yourself, you go to these spiritual retreats or you go to these big gatherings, that when you leave those gatherings, call back your energy. Call it back. Stop leaving pieces of yourself everywhere. Call back your energy on every occurrence. When you leave someone's house, come on, let's go. Call back your energy. Even if you've given it willingly and holding space for someone, keep the pieces of yourself together. We deserve to be whole. All of us. Me, you, and everyone else. We deserve to be whole. So keep doing the work, self-healers. That's all I have for today. Thank you for joining my channel, Closing the Gap, where we make a conscious effort to meet you where you're at on your spiritual journey. Don't forget to like or subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and drop a comment. We'll appreciate it. Y'all have a good day.